We got the joke police here, and this story is actually, well, I guess the story is actually kind of new. Carl Benjamin is apparently going to be investigated by police, and this is what BuzzFeed says, over his comments about raping a Labour MP. You mean his comments about not doing it? Because Sargon's only ever made comments about not doing it. So let's clarify. Sargon said, I wouldn't even. And he did that. That was kind of, here's my interpretation. The intention was to make a negative, and so they would, flip out and get angry about it. And then what Sargon did apparently in another video was he flipped it. Because they kept getting angry that he said he wouldn't do it, he said something like, there's constant pressure to get me to, on my hardline stance of not doing it. Perhaps with pressure, I would, but let's be honest, there's not enough beer. That was the joke Sargon made. Now here's the point. With enough pressure, I would, but let's be honest, there's not enough beer. That was another negative, saying he would not do it. He has a hardline stance of not, and they repeatedly try to make it out to say that he is. But I want to tell you about how the media plays this game. First of all, BuzzFeed Joke Police. This is ridiculous. George Carlin. This man. I love this man. This segment, I tweeted earlier because, I'm getting ready to do this story. Watch this segment. I can't play it because they'll strike my channel or whatever. But go on YouTube and look at George Carlin's, it's 9 minutes and 25 seconds where he mocks feminists. He talks about how he agrees with a lot of feminism, but he mocks them for being offensive. And he jokes relentlessly about rape and about women being raped. And George Carlin is a comedian, and part of the segment, it starts with him saying, they don't want you to make these jokes. You know what? I think it's funny. How about that? Bravo, good sir. Bravo, good sir. George Carlin challenged the machine. He challenged the Puritans who wanted to make speech restricted, who didn't like swear words. The 7 words you can't say on TV. Yeah, George Carlin. And he's got this from the 90s, I believe, 91 or 92. But now BuzzFeed, in complete disgrace, shame. They probably hate George Carlin. They probably don't like the guy. And so this is why I don't like them. But George Carlin was like an environmentalist, anti-corporate leftist. He is the left I remember saying, screw you to the man, because the man was screwing everything up. There's even conservatives now saying that all of the bad things that are happening in terms of the culture war are coming from, I should reframe that. That a lot of things, without getting too specific, are coming from old industrialist open borders policy from the right, from the Koch brothers. Well, here's the thing. Let's talk about how the media frames stuff, because I love this subject. Mark D. Stefano wrote a story that said, over his comments about raping a Labour MP, instead of actually framing it over a joke Sargon made about not, because he made a joke, a follow-up joke where he said, there isn't enough beer. The joke he was making was that the media keeps ragging on him for saying he would not do this. So he says, they're trying to get me to do it, but there's not enough beer, right? Now they're trying to make it say, so my God, I hate news. So let me explain something to you. Mark DiStefano is a BuzzFeed reporter who keeps talking about raping Jess Phillips. He keeps talking about the act of her being raped. What is wrong with this journalist where he keeps tweeting about this? Mark DiStefano is obsessed with talking about the rape of Jess Phillips. My God, why won't he stop? This should be investigated. He should not be allowed to repeatedly talk about the rape of Jess Phillips, right? So you see how I do this. You see how he does this. Sargon made a joke that he wouldn't do something. Granted, it's kind of a different thing. But then he frames it as though Sargon is talking about actually doing it, because this is it's a literary device. It's a tool, framing things. So I can say this: Mark DiStefano, a reporter who won't stop talking about the rape of Jess Phillips, wrote an article today talking about raping Jess Phillips. Now, I didn't say he was talking about himself doing it. No, he's talking about an act that would be carried out. This is how journalists operate. I could say something completely it's true. Completely true. Mark DiStefano, who seems to repeatedly talk about raping MPs. Yep. I didn't say he wants to commit the act. No, he's talking about what's happening with this. You see how they do this? And so let's see what's going on actually with Sargon being investigated. Police are investigating whether Carl Benjamin, UKIP star candidate at the European elections, committed an offense when he talked about raping Labour MP Jess Phillips. You see this? How he frames it? You mean made a joke about not doing it? Made a joke about how the media is trying to pressure him to reverse his stance on not doing it? It's a point targeting the media. UKIP has continued to stand by Benjamin despite widespread condemnation from senior MPs. In the video, which has now been removed on YouTube, Benjamin, known widely on the internet as Sargon of Akkad, addressed a 2016 tweet in which he said, "I wouldn't even rape you." I suppose with enough pressure I might cave, but let's be honest, nobody's got that much beer. This, you see how this is? It's a single sentence with a comma where he's saying he would never do it. And what do they say? You see how they frame it? These people are obsessed and creepy. And so naturally, you know this guy, Mark DiStefano, he's got a grudge. He's got a personal stake in this. And we know, they're activists, right? This is what he said. Who could have guessed this is where we'd end up when Gamergate eventually ran for public office? But here's the big thing. Here's the thing. It doesn't matter if Carl wins for MEP. It doesn't matter. The amount of attention he's getting, they are propping him up. And it's entirely possible they Donald Trump Sargon into office. You got to look. People expect the Brexit Party to win really, really big. UKIP won really, really big. Should we expect Sargon to lose? I don't know. I don't know that much about how EU and UK politics work. What I do know is when you repeatedly give someone free press, when you repeatedly just non-stop talking about him, all anyone's going to know is this guy. Yes, you'll get a lot of people who hate him, but you're going to get a lot of people who hate the establishment and want the chaos vote. And you're going to get a bunch of people saying he's making a joke. Think about it. I get it. He's making a joke. So did George Carlin for 10 minutes talking about it and ragging on feminists. I kid you not. He talks about how the feminists, he makes a joke where he says, go to one of these feminist magazines and yell out as loud as you can, who's going to go make me a sandwich and then give me a BJ? I should have given a warning at the beginning of this video. George Carlin. But he talks about going into a feminist, like a publication, and yelling that. George Carlin is like a godfather of comedians and personalities like Sargon. Like he, you know, I don't want to speak for Sargon, but I grew up watching George Carlin's South Park and Family Guy. This was the left. These were the jokes. It was okay. It was the right who didn't like it. Now it's flipped. Now you've got these weirdos who are trying to be the morality police on BuzzFeed. Joke police BuzzFeed misframing what's actually going on. And now, of course, the UK is a weird place with no free speech. So yeah, Sargon's going to be investigated. They say West Midlands Police, which covers Phillips' Birmingham Yardley constituency, confirmed officers were now investigating the rape remarks. Oh, heavens. Police have received a report of malicious communications relating to MP Jess Phillips, the force said in a statement. Officers have spoken to Ms. Phillips, and the comments are being investigated to establish if an offense has taken place. Man, the First Amendment, one of the most beautiful things ever conceived. The right, the protection, freedom of speech. Now, these big corporations and the wingnuts over at BuzzFeed would have you stripped of your right to make jokes and express your opinions. Because they're weird, tyrannical joke police. So they say Phillips appeared on the BBC TV's Victoria Derbyshire program on Tuesday to talk about how she felt when BuzzFeed News told her about Benjamin's rape remarks. I love how they frame it. So let me try this again. Mark DiStefano has repeatedly made rape remarks about Jess Phillips. Is it appropriate for a journalist at BuzzFeed to repeatedly make rape comments about Jess Phillips and publish story after story about the rape of Jess Phillips? I am appalled that he would keep platforming this idea that the idea of raping Jess Phillips. Mark DiStefano this is criminal. That's how you frame it. That's how you play the game. I realize I did what all women do in these situations. I put a brave face on it and pretending that it was all fine and I could cope. It dawned on me that for years, essentially, this man has made a career out of harassing me. You're a politician. Good Lord. The UK has my God, the UK. We have the First Amendment, which means any regulation. The Supreme Court unanimously ruled this. This is a story I talked about on my main channel the other day with Will Chamberlain. Unanimously ruled the government cannot restrict access to social media, and it's more than that. It's to public speech in the public square and to utilities. They can't do that, which means in the U.S. any regulation would only protect speech. It can't constrain it to an extent, right? Because you can't. There's like threatening people and you know those are illegal. We have a line. The UK has a different line that means something really interesting. Sargon made a joke. He said he wouldn't do it. End of story. He's allowed to. He didn't say he was going to do anything. He was talking about media pressure. In the UK, however, they're going the other direction. There's going to be a really interesting phenomenon that happens. In the US, in the UK, are diverging rapidly on the issue of speech. It's kind of amazing that the UK is more likely to end up like China than the US will because of our constitution. So we're about to potentially see laws. We are seeing laws pop up at the state level saying you can't censor people for political speech or manipulate their content. The UK, however, is saying we must do more to police and remove speech. They're arresting people. 10 years, what do you think is going to happen? I'd be willing to bet in 10 years, I think Republicans are starting to wake up. It may be too late. Trump's tweeting about it. We're seeing Florida, Texas, and California proposing these laws. Mostly, I think it's all Republicans. Maybe, I'd be willing to bet in 10 years, the US has solidified platform access as a civil right because technology is the digital public square. In the UK, however, they're going to go the other direction and become a weird totalitarian state because they don't have free speech. So I don't really care. Everybody's outraged. So what? At the end of the day, you know what's going to happen? Carl Benjamin is going to be more famous than he's ever been. He's being propped up by BuzzFeed, by MEPs. Jeremy Corbyn apparently tweeted about him, denouncing him. All they're doing is raising Carl's profile. And if at the end of this, he doesn't actually get elected, he will be 10 times more famous than he's ever been. These people don't care about Sargon or his opinions. They care about the ratings, they care about the outrage, and they care about the virtue signal. They don't think about what comes next. That's how Trump gets elected, partly. Because they keep propping him up. I'd be willing to bet there's a strong likelihood that Sargon is trumped into office. Because they won't shut up about him, you're going to get a ton of people who hate Jess Phillips, who hate Corbyn, who hate BuzzFeed. And what do you think they're going to say? You think they're going to be like, well, I actually don't like these weirdo lefty feminist BuzzFeed outlets and politicians, so I'm going to not vote for Sargon. No, they're going to come out and say, they're going to, I don't want to swear, even though I said rape a million times in this video. They're going to point the finger and say, you guys are awful. I don't know who this Sargon dude is, but sure, whatever. And they're going to check off that little box. Or however they vote in the UK, I don't know. The point is, if someone doesn't like this woman, and I'm sure people don't because she's on the left, they're probably conservative types who don't like her, they're going to be like, that dude gets my vote. You have the chaos vote. There's even going to be people to the left of her who are going to laugh and be like, there was a joke made by a leftist saying Sargon in European Parliament is the single greatest reason for Brexit. You think Sargon disagrees with you? He's probably like, great, Brexit. He wants Brexit. I think they're playing a dangerous game, but they don't care. BuzzFeed just wants the clicks, right? They're all dying off. That's the next video I have for you at 4 p.m. The media is in trouble again. I'll leave it there. BuzzFeed joke police. I can't stand these people. Next video's I love free speech, by the way. I love America and the First Amendment, and I'm going to hide in my great American country underneath the Constitution while I make my offensive comments. So I'll see you the next video at 4 p.m. youtube.com/Timcast. It's a different channel. Yeah, I'll see you there.